Good Sunday morning to everybody. This may become a theme. We may be doing weekly videos around this time. Who knows? Depends on when I have the inspiration. So, as with any of these, I guess, financial related videos, this feels very corny to say, but this is not, official or personal financial advice. But these are my thoughts about what's going on in the world and what's going on with the market. So, recently, we've had a lot of political drama. When isn't there political drama, at least when Trump is around? Things are a little more quieter when you have a milquetoast politician running things, but Trump has always got to be the center of attention. And there are some positives to that and also some negatives to that. I think that a lot of people have been brainwashed by what they see on social media. I mean, the sky is blue, of course, but in particular, we're having anti American sentiment coming from within. And the last time we've seen anything like this was during the Cold War, communist propaganda, all that garbage. But it's perception versus reality. And for many people, their perception is reality. But don't be a stupid person and take politics so seriously because it's political theater. Almost none of it's real. Certainly, there are real world consequences to the actions that the politicians take. For example, there's been a lot of death and destruction in this Iran conflict. But you have to focus on the things that you can control. And as they say, don't let a tragedy go to waste. It sounds terrible to say, but there's nothing you can do about it. You, me, we can't do anything about it. Voting doesn't change the issue. You can't block the highways and glue, you're not going to glue yourself to a statue and stupid nonsense like that. You're not going to protest and change anything. The only thing you can do is capitalize on it. We live in a free market capitalist system. You have to capitalize. If you can't capitalize, then as I like to say, and this is just my opinion, but you have to own or be owned. If you're not owning stocks, if you're not managing your portfolio, if you're not trying to get ahead, if you're not trying to capitalize on market conditions, then you're losing. And you might as well, if someone is going to profit from any kind of situation like this, it should be you. And it's not immoral to do so. Okay, it's just numbers on the screen and you're pressing the right buttons if you know what to do. You're not hoping for things to get worse. There was a lot of people, and this is where I'm going to segue into I have a couple points to discuss at the same time. There's a lot of people that were hoping on a bigger drawdown in this market, and they were incorrect. Okay, you snooze, you lose. If you're a doomer, if you have perpetual doom and gloom, which I do not, I have the opposite mentality. So, and also I just look at the chart. What do you see? Can anyone say that it's gambling when the chart only goes up over time? It would be foolish to do so. Everybody thinks they're smarter than. Everybody thinks that they're smarter than the hedge funds. Everybody thinks they're smart, and as I've said before, you can't be, but you're not. You're not going to be. You're a drop in the bucket compared to what these people have, and these people move the market. So everybody thinks they're smarter than the market, and everybody thinks that by following politics that they get all the answers. No, you have to follow the money to get all the answers. So I see a lot of people hating on Trump recently, coming out against Trump. This is not to really get political, but people are coming out against Trump, and it's like, this is not the time to hate Trump. You can say whatever you want about Trump, but the reality is Trump has given us in both of his terms, you can say it's coincidence or whatever, we have had the best stock markets in history, both under Trump 1 and under Trump 2. Not a coincidence, okay? Yes, there were other factors at play. We also had a few all-time highs under Joe Biden, and he wasn't very friendly to the stock market. He pushed a lot of policies, like green energy garbage, that did not come to fruition. He was against the oil and gas industry, which was just ridiculous, and people voted him in anyway. So he's very anti, to the extent that he had any consciousness. To me, he wasn't very pro-American. It was very anti-American in a number of ways. But again, it's not about really getting into the nitty-gritty of politics. What I'm saying is really, even in that situation with less than ideal policies, and we can say with the Trump tariffs, that was a headache, but we rebounded in such a strong way because it shows you what's going on fundamentally, and this marketplace is unstoppable. When the bull momentum comes in, it's unstoppable. So people are having doom and gloom about politics, and certainly we do need to change a lot of policies, but ultimately you can still be making money throughout all of this if you know what you're doing. People that panic and they sell their stocks, sometimes you do need to take profit. That's a different situation. But people like retirees are selling their stocks. They don't trust Trump. They're morons. Look at how much they missed out on. So you don't take politics seriously. You follow where the money's going. Politics is just noise. What you need is the numbers. The numbers matter. The noise does not matter. The numbers matter. So the anti-Trump sentiment saying, oh, he got us into another war. How long did Venezuela last for? How long has this Iran conflict? We're knocking on wood here that this does actually get cleared up very soon. But the market seems to believe that, and then some, because we would not have had this extraordinary historic bull run in the last 2 weeks. 13, was it? Consecutive green days, multiple new all-time highs. We really just pushed above all-time highs like it was nothing. No resistance. There was no resistance whatsoever. So the political theater, just remember that every politician is an actor, and there are good actors versus bad actors. There are not good politicians versus bad politicians. This is the mistake that people make. Sure, some are more effective than others, but it's all about the act. There were good actors versus bad actors, and there were good scripts versus bad scripts. And somebody like Trump, he's a master marketer. There may never have been a better marketer than Trump that ever lived. And at a certain point in time, you do need to get behind your president. And when your president is a hype man like Donald Trump is, you need to get behind him because he's saying things that are objectively true about America if you live in America. And these are things we always used to believe and used to tell ourselves. And now because Trump is the one in charge and he's telling us what we need to hear again, he's being very patriotic. He's being very pro-America, at least with what he says. There's usually a contradiction between what he says and what he does, but not always. But this is one thing that he says that you need to get behind, and if you're not, then you're just a fool. So Trump, I think, is a good actor, an exceptional actor, at least in the political stage, and he's reading from a good script. And then you have, the communists and the socialists. They changed their name to socialists. They're still communists. And these people don't understand economics. And you got people like Bernie Sanders, who, if people think that Trump is a clown, then imagine being a Trump hater at a time like this. Imagine voting for Bernie Sanders, who doesn't understand economics and he hates the rich, even though he himself is a millionaire. He changed the goalposts from, millionaires shouldn't exist to now billionaires shouldn't exist when somebody called him out on his status as a millionaire. These people have been in charge for 50 years, and all they've done is ruin the value of the dollar through inflation, through their inflationary practices, and terrible policies, terrible taxation policies, terrible social policies, social programs. That's a whole different topic for a different day. How we could solve most of these problems through the free market without the government. But some people like Bernie Sanders, if that's your idea of a good politician, this is a bad actor with a bad script, and he's bad for the economy. So as long as the economy is doing well, as long as the stock market's doing well for those of us that make our money, and those of us that also vote, the only way that voting matters is when you own stocks. Your vote does not matter very much at all. If you believe that you really are in a democracy, you're wrong. Because when have you ever voted for an issue directly? You haven't. It doesn't exist in democracy. You vote for representatives who can then get in charge and do the exact opposite of what they told you they would do. So your vote doesn't matter in a democracy. And that's another topic for another video that I want to make about how we need to change the voting system in this country, because we're letting too many stupid people vote. And I'm sorry if you feel that's you, but we have too many people that have no idea about what they're talking about and also not paying attention that are getting to cast a vote. But it's all political theater anyway. The only time your vote really matters, unless you're on a city council meeting, is when you vote for your shareholder meeting if you own stocks. It's the only time your vote arguably matters at all, because you're not getting what you thought you were getting in any other situation. So with that in mind, fuck politics and only pay attention to how the market's moving. Because in both situations, politics is a losing game. You don't get anything back. You don't get anything for your money. You get hardly anything through taxation that you pay for. And you get nothing back in terms of representation. So it's voting without representation. It's taxation without representation. But not the case in the stock market. So understand the difference between political theater, whether you think you like Trump or you don't like Trump. I happen to like the guy. And of course he's imperfect. But as long as he's not fucking the money up, as long as we're getting good stock market, and of course the broader economy matters too. At some point it matters. It does come into play. But if we're getting all-time highs in the stock market despite all of the hysteria going on, I'm not trying to hear the hysteria, because it's just noise, it's panic, and people that panic lose in more ways than one. So I'm not telling you the stock market's going to go up and up and up and up for eternity, but there's no evidence to the contrary. That's what I am telling you. At this point, there is no evidence to the contrary. If you know what you're looking at with this momentum, you cannot fight against that. So people that were betting on the stock market to go down in perpetuity, there's a lot of people that lost money betting that it was going to keep going down. I personally thought it would rebound. Did not expect it to rebound this quickly, or else I would have bought even a larger portion of the dip, but I was being conservative. But I am a long-term optimist about a lot of things in life and in the stock market. You just have to be disciplined and know what you're doing, you know. But betting against the stock market and betting against American long term is just self-hatred. You hate yourself if you're doing that. So people, especially young people, need to get their heads out of their asses. Get your head out of politics. Unless it's affecting the money line directly, then it doesn't matter. You're being brainwashed. You're in a cult. It's just noise. All right. We can have a whole separate conversation about how we should be governing our society. A lot of that was already mapped out 250 years ago if you just read the Constitution, the original Constitution, and the original, 10 amendments to the Constitution, the original amendments. So that's all you need to be aware of, is that you need to follow the money. So stop following politics and follow the money. That's all. Have a good day. And don't buy into the theater.